Hey, what's up, guys? It's Rico from the Made in China podcast, doing the first ever video podcast coming from... Actually, not the first one. This is the first one that we're doing kind of like live, multiple camera angles. Very professional.
Does it feel different?
No. Not really. I did one video podcast with Harrison. It should be out by the time this comes out at the IFC. So this is right next to the IFC. This is the Park Hyatt. We are on the 70th floor.
Guangzhou, China, as you can see.
China, as you can see, Canton, Guangzhou Ta, as the Chinese people call it. And yeah, like this is going to be just a normal Made in China podcast, except we're having a couple of drinks on our rooftop. And that's awesome.
It's colder than it looks also.
Right. Who are you, gentlemen? You haven't introduced yourself.
Oh, sorry. Everybody, how are you? My name is Mike, sometimes known as ChinaMike.
No, Chiang Mike.
Yeah, been living in Chiang Mai, so it's rare to find me on these Guangzhou streets, but back hanging out with Rico. And yeah, we just wanted to talk to you guys for a little bit about a new thing we got going on. We're doing a meetup. We're calling it the Sourcing Table. I've been doing this every 2 weeks in Chiang Mai, and it's just a meetup where we usually bring in a guest speaker for each one of the meetups, but we're talking about all things product development, brand development, online marketing and advertising, just anything to do with the type of business that we're in. And we're really looking to blow this thing out and take it with us wherever we go. So we have aspirations within the next calendar year between the two of us. I know we've been talking about going back to the States, Chicago, LA, Florida, as well as going to Africa. We're talking about going to Zambia, possibly Medellin, Colombia. So this is something that we really hope... Philippines as well, yeah. And maybe both of us will be in one location. Maybe it'll just be one of us. But this is something that we want to take with us wherever we go. And at the moment, we're trying to let people know not only about the physical meetups, but the online groups as well. So we've started a Facebook group, as well as a Facebook Messenger group where we're talking to people day to day. People post questions. You know, we put up interesting articles, maybe things that we're doing day to day for our sourcing business, and just trying to get people engaged and share information with like-minded people who are in the same realm of business.
How did you come up with the idea?
Well, I would say my motivation for starting this was that I was living in Chiang Mai, but I hadn't really integrated into the community that much, you know? So I knew that there was all these digital nomads in Chiang Mai doing tons of cool shit, and I just wanted to be a part of that community. There's meetups all the time in Chiang Mai, and you know, I just wanted to start putting myself out there a little bit more, talking about what we do, getting to know other people who are in the same line of work as us, and that's what it's been up to this point. It's been awesome, man. We've had 5 meetups to this point. We had really good guests come and talk. Michael Michelini, who I'm sure a lot of you guys know, was there in Chiang Mai talking. We had Don Wilder, who's a good friend of mine, had a fantastic meetup about crowdfunding and product development. And yeah, that was the motivation to get it started. And then once we had 1 or 2 meetups, we got a really good response from the people there, and we just wanted to keep it moving.
I think there's 2 videos up of Sourcing Table, like that you spliced together, little clips, right?
For sure, yeah. We did just little promo cuts for the following meetup, and we're in process of editing the full sourcing meetups, as well as you know, little short videos that I did just kind of in preparation for those meetups.
So then you've done 5. How has it changed since the first meetup?
Just more people, more engagement, more people are contacting me about going. I really try to make it open-ended. So we'll have a topic, we'll have somebody who's coming to talk about a specific aspect of product development or crowdfunding, but we try to keep it open-ended, so that people can talk about what they have going on. We always try to get everybody else's input, quick background as to who they are, why they're at the meetup, what is something they're struggling with at the moment that the group could possibly help with. But it's been cool. It's been cool to meet people, get different input on the type of things we're talking about. But I think probably for me, the most beneficial thing has been just to learn about all these different applications and programs and out there that people are using for their business or to gain information about something that they're researching. That's been the really cool aspect of the meetup for me.
So far, Michael McLeany spoken. Who else has spoken?
Myself.
Don.
The first two meetups was just me.
Yeah.
Don Wilder, Michael McLeany was there, and then the last meetup we did was just a round table, where it's like a mastermind where everybody just came to the table, explained about. Nick Ramil? No, he wasn't able to go. He got there a couple days after that one. So we have another meetup next Sunday. Yeah, but we're just going to continue to roll them out.
What's the actual location? I think you changed locations, right?
So no, right now we've been going out of a co-working space in Chiang Mai. It's called Hub 53. It's a co-living, co-working space. It's I think they've only been going for about like 6 months or something, but the boss lady who runs the place, she's really cool. She's open to all kinds of different meetups, and she helps me to promote the meetups a little bit. So that's where we've been. But it's small, can't hold so many people. I'd say max like 30. So
I don't think that's a bad thing. Like I remember when we were doing the EC stuff, like the spaces I was picking could only fit between 20 to 50 people. And I think at the beginning, like having that intimate space, it kind of actually makes it seem like the event is bigger than it is. But at the same time, even just a little bit of exclusivity, because we were charging admission as well for the event as well. But yeah, I don't think that's bad at all.
No, I think it's good. People feel more comfortable. They feel like they can get more out of it, ask more direct questions for sure. I've done some bigger meetups in Chiang Mai, and it does get a little sleepy in there sometimes, because just the speaker is talking the whole time, putting up slides, and there's not that much engagement. They usually have like a Q&A after the hour-long talk, whereas we are more, engaging the entire conversation. It's better.
Did you attend any of Michael McLeany's stuff?
I've watched some of his stuff online, and I was at
in
one.
Chiang Mai?
No, I haven't been to anything he's done in Chiang Mai yet, but I was at one event in Shenzhen a while back.
I know you guys connected. What did you talk about in terms of like potential collabs?
Yeah, we're still getting there. I think Michael has a family, and he just got to Chiang Mai, so it's been a long adjustment process for him. But yeah, we've said. I mean, he came and did the one meetup, which was fantastic. It was so cool to listen to him talk. For me, I'm sure some people got a lot of good information out of it, but for me, it was so interesting because he came to China the same time that I did, like 2007, 2008. And Michael and Don as well have similar stories to me in the sense that they just came here not really knowing what the hell they were doing and just kind of hacking it out, and finding...
He registered a Chinese company like his first year in China.
Yeah, for sure. He got going right away.
He realized he could have waited 5 years to do it.
Yeah.
And it just caused a lot of problems at the beginning. It was just way too expensive.
He has so many funny stories, and so many stories that him and Don told kind of crossed with mine. It was cool.
Did he do the presentation on like his first year in China?
I think he covered a lot more than his first year, but yeah, he got into why he went, the early days, working out,
and stuff like that.
Yeah, and working out of the apartment,
selling on Taobao, whatever.
The first employees that he had, the one employee tried to get him in trouble with the workers bureau or whatever. It was a lot of fun to hear him talk. Yeah, and we got that one recorded actually, so we'll chop it up, edit it down, and release that soon enough.
What's the reception been like with people coming? Like, I'm interested because it's obviously a different crowd from China, and like the entrepreneurs that you find in China who are doing manufacturing, I find sometimes if you are not coming up with new, innovative, interesting topics to discuss around manufacturing. A lot of it can just be like, yeah, like people just nodding their heads because they've been through
For
the
sure,
stuff.
yeah.
If it's surface level stuff, but then at the same time, the people that are in Chiang Mai, probably a lot of them haven't been to China, even though they're dealing with China.
So I would say it's been mixed. We have about half and half. Half of the people that have been going, not only have they been to China, but they're experienced. You know, we got Luke Francis and Harrison have been.
Luke has been a regular.
Not the regulars, but they've attended. You know, so we've dealt, and Ralph from China, all these guys, they've been to multiple meetups. So I mean, that's cool as well because they have a whole nother perspective that they can add to the current topic. But then we have a wide range of other guys that have been there. One guy was a software developer, and he just said that he was looking to get into other things, so he wanted to come. We had another guy who was doing stuff with not CrossFit. He was doing martial MMA type stuff, and they were looking to expand into developing products. So he showed up. A girl just came who was starting her own line of rock climbing clothes equipment. But yeah, I would say a lot of people are super newbies and fresh, and some people were, you know, had a lot of skin in the game. So we've gotten all kinds of different people, tons of different backgrounds. We had a really cool couple from Sri Lanka come, and they were super cool. So it's been a lot of fun. That's one thing about Chiang Mai. I feel like Guangzhou, there are a lot of foreigners, but it's difficult to get so much diversity in one space quickly.
I think I think Guangzhou is a little bit more segregated.
It is way more segregated for sure.
Also, it's just bigger.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like to get all those people in one place quickly, to mobilize a cool group of eclectic people from all over the world to talk about different aspects of business, it's not as easy. So that's why Chiang Mai is really unique.
Yeah, I found that. Actually, I was going to ask, were there any Thai people?
We haven't had any Thai people yet. Where are you at, Thai people?
I found that with our meetups that we were hosting before, like, I would say it was 60% Chinese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, we haven't had any Chinese descent, but nobody from China.
But I mean, I just like it was 60% locals. Like, came to our meetups.
Yeah.
So partially because it was like interesting to go see what foreigners are talking about.
Right.
But a lot of them were genuinely interested in like Amazon and things like that.
That's actually one thing I'd like to talk about in Chiang Mai is just the relationship and the interaction between the locals and the digital nomad community, because I feel like that's something that's just kind of been sprung on them in the past few years, and I'd like to see how they feel about it. You know.
Yeah, you should try to get on the ground, become a reporter. This is ChinaMike.
What do you think about me?
Reporting from Chiang Mai life. All right, so guys, we're gonna go inside because it's pretty cold. As amazing as it is.
I'm trying not to shake.
But yeah, with the rest of the podcast, we're gonna be talking about China then and China now. Obviously, Mike's been in China since 2007.
2008.
2008, and then I've been in China since 2014. So I'm gonna like just over 4 years now. I think I have my own like then and now story, and then you have yours. So we'll see you inside.
For sure, and also we're gonna post some information with this video about how you can join the online group.
We've got a Facebook group and Facebook Messenger.
Facebook Messenger right now. We'd also really
get approved to get on the Messenger.
Yeah,
you can't just jump in.
You got to go through a vetted process to be a part of this community.
Same way we vet factories, we vet the people that join our Facebook group.
And we'd love to do a WeChat group too, but a lot of the people that that I've been introduced to and have been dealing with in Chiang Mai don't use WeChat. So those of you who do, that's how we actually prefer to communicate. But we're gonna, like we said, we're gonna be posting information, day-to-day type information, posting information about upcoming meetups, and then we're also looking to do some webinar type stuff where me and Rico will be answering your questions live on the spot. So
AMA, Ask Me Anything.
That's right. Right.
All right. See you guys inside. What's up, YouTube? It's Rico here, CEO of Source Find Asia, and I'm here with a quick message from our first ever sponsor, Bailey and Brooke. Before I get into what they do, I just wanted to show you a little bit. Like I'm hanging out in Makati in downtown Manila, Philippines, Gramercy residence. There's a swimming pool downstairs, there's a gym over there. Got a nice little spot here while I'm staying in Manila. So Bailey & Brook is the international brand for Tipperary Crystal. Tipperary Crystal started off as a Irish manufacturer of glassware, crystalware, lots of beautiful accessories that they made, and now they've branched out and become the #1 gifting company in Europe. And they've won numerous awards for their packaging and design, whether it's things like gift boxes to, Christmas ornaments to watches, men's and women's watches, rose gold, beautiful stuff, handbags, bracelets. They do a lot of different things. So we will probably have a promo for you, a little discount for the SFA YouTube viewers and the listeners in the Made in China podcast. We'll have a link in the description below, probably a link somewhere over here in the video. And I hope that you guys can go there and buy some accessories, get a gift for your mom, get a gift for your girlfriend, get for your boyfriend. This is equal society. Also, by the way, Alan Scanlan, one of the co-owners of Bailey & Brook, was on the YouTube channel with the videos that we did where I interviewed him. If you want to check those out, you can get to know him as a person and see all the cool things that he's doing. Really, really good stuff. Amazing design. The first time he contacted me, he sent me their website, and I was pretty blown away. So definitely check that out, and I will see you guys signing off.
And we're back. Now we're inside. We're settled. It's nice and toasty in here. Got some new drinks. So let's jump into it. So, for you, being in China 10 years, it's officially 10 years, a little bit over 10 years.
2008. Chinese New Year, February 2008.
So it's almost 11 years. We're 1 month, 2 months away.
Let's say 10. Let's just say 10.
So 10 years, what are the immediate, big differences 10 years ago versus 2008 versus 2018? I feel like 2008, that's a year when they had the Olympics in Beijing. I feel like there's a lot of active changes that the government started to implement.
Yeah.
I remember I actually came in 2008. It was the first time I came to mainland China, just in the summer with my mom.
I missed you.
Yeah,
Missed you.
yeah. But I was in these Taojian streets. I was out there. But yeah, I remember that time period as a prompt for the Olympics. 6 months before, a year before, they'd given some sort of education or pamphlets and stuff to the public saying no spitting. There's little things that were custom here that they were trying to prepare them to interact with the Western world.
So we talked a couple days ago about we were going to do this. I didn't put that much time into preparation because I was thinking, oh my God, I could talk about a million things, but now we're in the moment. I'm like, how am I going to narrow it down? There's so much that's changed since I got here. I would say just the biggest thing for me, and I don't want this to come off as super negative, but the biggest thing to me has just been the tightening up of the government on society. Just absolutely every aspect of life here is more controlled than when I first got here. So my idea when I came to China was that I was going into the Wild Wild West. No rules, just this new frontier, and I feel like I did experience that for the most part. I was kind of in on the tail end of it, but you wouldn't see in Guangzhou, if you go through the streets now, just about every single street there's a fence in the middle of the road. There wasn't one fence in all of Guangzhou on the middle of the road. You could walk anywhere at any time. You're in Zhujiang New Town, Huacheng Dadao, Guangzhou Dadao.
This is a central business district.
That's central business district, one of the busier intersections of the entire city.
That's where we are right now. All these shots at the buildings and stuff like that you've seen, that's Zhujiang New Town.
And if you go there now, it's an extremely controlled intersection. There's 15 lights just for 4 different directions on all the different, ways you can turn and everything, and it's very controlled. And when I was living there was none of those. They were just putting in street lights. So, you had people walking and biking and pushing carts any time of the day. So that was a big thing, from going...
You think that's specifically that, do you think that's a good change or a bad change?
I think it depends on...
I
think it depends on who you ask. If you ask somebody who hasn't, wasn't coming over, specifically to come into like a wild
the
ass
crazy house,
atmosphere,
yeah.
they might think it's great. They might think it resembles more of what they're used to in Western culture. You know, more structure, not as crazy, not as many things going in a million different directions. But I feel like for me, I missed that. You know, that was really cool, being able to come here and you can go out any time of the night and stay out all night. Absolutely all night, 7, 8 in the morning, and it's just there wasn't that many rules. The rules were like be respectful to the locals, don't be an asshole, basically. And then other than that, you know, anything goes, and I feel like that's been the biggest drastic change for me.
Yeah,
it's just
I think it's still comparatively to the actual Western world, it's still pretty loose.
For sure.
It's just compared to what it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's drastically different. You know, street lights, street signs telling people when they can and can't walk. You know, rules enforced on places staying open past a certain time. Cameras all over the street.
Yeah, no, there's.
You know?
I think they just imposed on Party Pier. I think there's like a 2 a.m. curfew.
Right.
Party Pier.
And not that I'm, you know, advocating drunk driving, because I'm not. But I remember when I first got here, like Chinese people drove whenever they wanted to. Whereas now it's like if you have a drink in China, you cannot drive. You know, in the States, it's like you blow a .08 and you get arrested. Here, you blow .001 and you get arrested. You're not allowed to drink at all if you're going to be driving. So I just think it's across all aspects of society, more rules. I mean, you go into opening a bank account, you know, as a foreigner, you have to provide way more information than when I first set up a bank account. You're setting up anything here, anything formal here. It's way more paperwork and application than when I first arrived. I think that's the biggest glaring change that comes out.
At the same time, one aspect though of being here is that if you know people, it's just easier. You know what I mean? So like, I don't think that applies as much in the Western world. Like you can't just show up in the US or Canada and be like, okay, let me find this community of WeChat and then find a guy who works with the government and then I'll pay an extra 1,000 RMB and I'll get this done in, you know, half the time that it would take somebody else. Or I don't need to provide as much paperwork as other people. I feel like
that's one beautiful thing about China. It's straying away from the topic a little bit, but you know, I've always said in China, as long as you have determination, a little bit of money in your pocket, you can get anything done. Yeah. Absolutely anything. You know, we were hitting the markets today, and it's just incredible the amount of ground you can cover and the amount of people you can talk to, the amount of work you can get done in a single day is just unprecedented compared to anywhere else I've been in the world, you know.
Okay, so those are the big. That's not the only big thing, though. Like there's cost of living.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Costs across the board have gone up. Absolutely every aspect of life in China has gone up.
So, like for example, I live in a 2-bedroom apartment. Right now, I'm paying between 1,300 to 1,500. No. Yeah, between 1,200 to like 1,300 a month with utilities. Right?
Yeah.
How much do you think that place would have been 10 years ago? It's a 2-bedroom place. It's an okay apartment. It's not a condo. It's just, you know, regular joint. Good, decent sized place.
Believe it or not, that place would have been about $400 to $500 a month when I first got here.
I don't even know if you could find a place for $400 to $500 a month in.
You can't. Maybe a room. Maybe one room in a shared 3 to 4 bedroom apartment.
Yeah, you could definitely do that.
But yeah, I mean,
an entire apartment.
It's just absolutely unbelievable. It's not just the rents. You know, there's cities in the States or other locations where the rents will go up, but absolutely everything. So your rent's gone up, your electric's gone up, the food that you're buying's gone up, parking a car, absolutely every last aspect of living here has gone up.
So let's say at Mikasa,
yeah.
I go to Mikasa so frequently, I know the prices on the menu. If you were to get like a quesadilla, it would be like 78 RMB. You get like about 4 quesadillas. It's 2, but they cut them in half. How much do you think that would have been before?
Well, I feel like the Western restaurants have always been a little bit
around that price.
higher priced here, yeah. But I would say, I mean, the Chinese food has drastically gone up in price. The Western food has also gone up in price, and the exchange rate has become less favorable from 10 years ago when I got here too. So the U.S. dollar would go a lot farther. But I would say something like that.
Right, I just ate dumplings yesterday. There was like these fried dumplings. I got like about 15 dumplings. It was like 25, 30 euros.
Yeah, 10 max. 10 max. I remember I used to live
Came with a soup though. Yeah.
Okay, you got a small soup?
Very small soup.
I used to live in Yanji, which is an area just outside of where we are now in China, and I used to eat at this little dumpling shop. Really good. Handmade dumplings. This lady and her mom would be making them all day. And she gave me a giant plate for 10 RMB.
Yeah.
And that was like a sizable plate. So I used to eat all the time for 5 to 15 RMB.
I can get pretty big for 20, 25, like a big solid thing, but like not 5 to 10 RMB.
Yeah, I mean that's still inexpensive worldwide. And one other.
Well, I mean, we're comparing China to China.
Right. China to China.
Yeah.
Okay, so this all might be in my head, but I feel like there was a distinct point when I lived here. Because when I first came here, I would go anywhere to eat. I would eat anything at any time. You know, I was really interested in trying Chinese food and trying all kinds of different types of cuisine. And I was very adventurous with what I ate. But I don't know if I reached a certain point where I got a little bougie or I was researching too much about what you should put into your body, or yeah, it's coming. Or I legitimately hit a point in my time here where the foods that I was eating before, the cheaper option, inexpensive foods on the street, were really starting to make me sick.
I think actually I spoke to Mezin, who is the owner of Mikasa.
Mm-hmm.
We did a podcast, and I talked to him about that, and he said the same thing. Basically, what happened was the cost of food became so expensive that the restaurants, they knew that their clients, the customers weren't going to want to pay significantly more for the same food, so they ended up getting cheaper food and genetically modified stuff. And then they start getting the ditch oil, dig oil.
Yeah, that was my theory all along. That every aspect of Chinese culture, Chinese living in here has gone up in money, up in cost, up and up and up. But
and he said the same thing with his restaurant. It's like they can't just increase.
Right, wages aren't going up exponentially.
Wages are going
as well.
up, and then it's like, okay, so, and then he said, for example, like all of his meats are imported, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they had like a shortage, and then their importer said, hey, we gotta increase by 15%.
Yeah.
He can't then just increase.
That'll price out your clientele,
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? And a lot of the restaurants here started to change the quality of the food. So, for me, I was eating a certain type of food for a certain price, and then that food started to make me incredibly sick.
Yeah.
And I had health issues, and I had to change my diet completely. I couldn't eat there anymore.
For me, I came obviously 6 years after you. I was eating shitty Chinese food for a year. But no, I was eating I like a lot of Chinese food, but I was eating a lot of inexpensive Chinese food that I wouldn't say was the healthiest for a year. But then it just got to a stage where for me, I was like, okay, I want to lose weight, I want to exercise, I want to have more energy. I can't be eating all these oily foods on a daily basis, even though they're so much cheaper. I didn't really feel sick necessarily, but I definitely felt more lethargic.
Yeah, for sure.
And then it was just like, okay, if you want to eat salads and stuff like that, it's not really part of the Chinese diet. Or you can have a ton of boiled foods, which is also good, but not as. I'd prefer to eat a salad than
Most definitely.
boiled cabbage.
Yeah, so I mean that's two things right there, just the cost and food quality has changed drastically. But I mean now coming from somewhere like Chiang Mai to here, China is expensive. China's not cheap.
Yeah, right. That's the weird part now is that, well, I mean, it depends though. Like, if we're talking about China, we're talking about Guangzhou and Shanghai and stuff. Because, for example, Nantong.
Right. Sure.
I was looking at apartments in Nantong because I was there for 10 days. You know, when you're in the city for 10 days, you start analyzing cost of living and just what would it be like to actually?
What if I stayed here?
What if I actually just stay? I was like, this place isn't that bad. This is Nantong, right? I was like, there's a cinema here.
They got a movie theater. I'm good.
And then across from my hotel, there's these new apartments. So I was bored and I went to the reception. I was like, how much are those apartments? And then they were like, they pulled it up actually on the app. Really nice places for about one bedroom for about like 2,000-3,000 RMB a month. 2 bedroom for like maybe
$300-400 US.
Yeah, $400 US, and then 2 bedroom for like 400-500.
Okay.
And they were like, yeah, if you sign like a 2-year lease, it's cheaper. Like the price was negotiable. It was like brand new like condos.
That's a second, maybe third tier city with, you know, an extremely low foreign population. Yeah, 2 hours from
So I was just like, yeah, if you're willing, it's kind of like, if you think about it, it's not the same as Chiang Mai, obviously, because Chiang Mai is way more developed and there's way more like Western amenities and stuff like that. But Chiang Mai is kind of like a second tier city in Thailand, no? Would you? No? Number one?
I mean,
compared to Bangkok.
in northern Thailand, it is the #1 city. It's like the capital of northern Thailand. So it'd be hard for me to say it's second tier city. But if you're talking to somebody from Bangkok, they're like, oh, it's kind of like villagey up there.
That's what I was
know
thinking.
what I mean?
So I'm thinking in the same way as where if you're a Shanghai person, you're looking at Nantong like that's that's a village joint. But then Nantong like is 2 hours outside of Shanghai. So like if you are living in Nantong, you could still be working in Shanghai. You could still enjoy some of the Shanghai amenities or whatever, and then have a cheaper cost of living.
Are you telling us you're about to move to Nantong?
No, I'm just giving people options.
Okay.
I'm giving people options in case like you're like, oh, Guangzhou is crazy expensive, Shanghai is crazy expensive compared to these places. If you want to be in China, you could still be in a city that's just outside of the big cities.
For sure.
And then that way, like on
still
the weekend,
far less expensive, and you probably don't have a lot of these, food quality issues.
Yeah, Nantong, like I was there, man. There's
here.
sushi there. There's like, I found this little spot. I was in like a suburb, and there was a shopping mall. There was a brand new shopping mall. And they had like a Brazilian steakhouse. The steakhouse places where you pay like all you can eat. And they had that. They had sushi. They had juices. And I was like, okay. That's why I was kind of like, I started thinking like, oh, this wouldn't be that bad.
Yeah.
If I just arrived in China and I was like, I want to be in China, I want to be in the manufacturing area, but I can't afford to be in Shanghai.
Right, that's the same thing here, right? You could probably live in some areas of Foshan, even the outskirts of Guangzhou, and you could be saving significant money.
Yeah.
I just thought about one other thing that's drastically changed. So when I first got here in 2008, I feel like I was right at the tail end of one era and kind of at the forefront of another area in terms of sourcing and what we do. Like a lot of my mentors, the guys who kind of showed me the ropes when I got here, they were old school sourcing agents. Big operations.
How would you compare that to what you're doing now?
Big operations, a lot of employees, less transparent. Just more old school in nature. Whereas now it's very much, it's very thin, very light. You don't have a lot of overhead. I mean, that's kind of the world that we're in. We use virtual assistants and virtual employees in other parts of the world to help us with certain tasks. We don't need a giant office. That's a waste. There's no need for it, because we have factories that warehouse stuff for us, factories that fulfill for us. I mean, when I was doing this, I had a giant office. I had a warehouse on the northern side of Guangzhou. I had all this space, and it was just a different mentality, you know what I mean? And I think that one thing that I've noticed that's changed a lot is not only the mentality of a lot of the people that are coming into the sourcing game, but how the Chinese factories are dealing with their clientele. I feel like they're very quick to adapt to the new technology. So
very quick.
I do think so. Yeah,
You're gonna have to give me an example.
I just mean the way that they communicate, the way that things are shipped and sent and moved. Back in the day when I would go to the markets were flooded with people. Absolutely flooded. People were...
When you say the new technology, you're talking about the new technology in China, not necessarily the new technology like...
In general, but also in China, yes.
The site views are not on Google Docs.
Right now, of course, though they can't access Google Docs, so that's
the VPNs exist, and you know what I mean. It's just like they're not really taking that step to adapt in that way.
To get on with Western applications, no, but I mean that you know, you take the example of what I just said. The fact the markets were completely just packed at all times, and people were moving massive amount of stock. You could see, you know, Nigerians pulling literally hundreds of boxes off the street and hoofing them with a big crew of people directly to the airport to run back to wherever they're going to go. Whereas now, it's all electronic, man. These people are all ordering through WeChat or QQ or whatever way that they're talking with the factories. You can walk through the market without 80 people bumping into you. You know what I mean? The factories and the shops have less overhead. Most everything they're doing is on 1688 or Alibaba or Taobao.
One or two people working.
Exactly. You got one person at the shop. They're just becoming far more efficient.
That's the funny thing is, if you go to these places, you might walk into like this tiny store and just be like, oh, this is just like a tiny little shop with a few items.
Right.
But in reality, it's like they have that.
They have a huge
like
operation.
Warehouse with, you know,
sure.
shipping out, 1,000 boxes a day, and you just don't know because this is just a little shop that they have in the market because they know some people still walk in there. You know.
Yeah. And with technology here, a lot of it comes from here. A lot of it's developed and made here. So that's one thing. I don't know if it's a change, but I see things that become popular in America this year, for example. They were in these Chinese streets 2, 3, 4 years ago.
Well, yeah, I mean, the biggest example is Apple Pay, right? Like, Apple Pay came out, 2 years ago in the States? Mm-hmm. And then WeChat Pay has been in China for like 6 years.
Right.
It's just, and even they said, there was a study that was done, like, America was the first adopter for e-commerce, but China was, like, the one that pushed it forward. Like, everybody jumped on buying products online. Like,
do you have the exact number of Singles Day last month?
Oh, man, I don't remember.
Something like $1 billion+ within 20 minutes.
Within 20 minutes.
Within 20 minutes, they sold
I know that
$1 billion+
last year they did 2 billion in sales. Yeah, 2 billion in sales. And then this year was like 5 times that. It was like way more than the year before.
I'm just thinking about different technologies that came out in the States, whether it's like the one wheel or the scooters.
Yeah, the hoverboards.
The hoverboards, or like certain car technologies like dash cams or the rear view mirror that has the camera in the back, stuff like that. Like I go in an Uber in the States and I'm starting to see some stuff like that now.
Yeah.
But not every car, whereas that was 5 years ago that was here, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for me, it's just the biggest thing is all the stuff that WeChat does is being adopted by Apple.
Yeah.
Like Apple's just ripping that stuff and just like, we just developed this thing, and it's like no one knows that it's originally from China. But yeah, so cost of living, tightening up of security, things like that.
Rules, yeah. It's a lot more difficult for a foreigner to operate here than when I first got here, I think. In terms of what you have to go through to become legitimate.
Yeah.
I think that's a big issue. Health, I feel like, has gone in a little bit of a negative direction here.
Really?
I do, in terms of...
There's more gyms, there's more juice places, there's more...
There's a little bit more access in the bigger cities, but I feel like the food quality has gone down. I don't know the pollution numbers, but I feel like...
Pollution is better.
Better?
It's 100% better. Like, I can actually see the sky way more frequently
I did see it today. Just got to Guangzhou and I saw the sky today. It was quite nice.
4 years ago, I'd go the entire year without pretty much seeing the sky. But in the last 2 years, like, it's been... I get surprised. Like, I'll come outside and there's blue skies in the summer and stuff like that. I mean, the pollution's still bad, obviously, but like it's much better. I think they were talking about it statistically. It's like 40% better in Guangzhou, Shanghai. Beijing is like a little bit lower because it was one of the worst there. But they're actively changing that. They've been shutting down factories. They've been using factories to clean up their waste and create better filtration systems. And stuff like we deal with it with clients. We've had productions that were shut down or delayed for 2 months because the factory had to implement environmental.
I was just at a clothing factory today, and he told me that they just had to move because they're not allowed to operate a factory in a place that they're living.
Yeah.
Where you live and cook, if you have any setup like that, whereas that used to be you know, when I first got here, that was everywhere. People were.
Do that in Nanton.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure in a lot of places that's still the thing.
You
But
see the theme of this podcast. Move to Nanton.
outside you know, on the outskirts of Guangzhou, a little bit outside the railway station, there's tons of markets, tons of factories, and yeah, the factory boss today was telling me, he said we had to completely set up our operation different because they'll come in and close you down if you're living there and you have like you know, an oven or a stovetop. You can't cook and you can't live anywhere near the factory. Yeah, in the immediate factory area, which is a huge change from.
Is it just the owners? What about the factory workers? Because there's the whole thing with people
have to have separate premises according
right next
to.
door. Because I mean, they have the dorms. Like that's
right. I don't know how far it needs to be from the factory floor, but it must be in a different location, which is, you know, that's very different from when we first started operating here.
Well, you know, one thing I noticed when I first started sourcing, right, was like I remember some factories that were supposedly in Shenzhen or in Guangzhou. You know, now like what was listed on Alibaba in terms of the address was different. Like the address was further outside of the city. And I remember going and asking them like, why, and they're like, it's too expensive for us to be in the city. And we have to go outside of the city. So I feel like that's another thing. Is like, you know, probably when you were around, like the factories are probably a little bit closer to the actual city centers.
Depends on the industry, you know, because the industries tend to clutter factories together in one area. So it depends on the industry, but yeah, I'd say that's definitely the case, especially with a lot of the
further and further out.
Right, especially with a lot of the factories, warehouses, and workshops that I was working with close to Bayun district, close to the railway station. They've all started to venture out a little bit farther.
It's because it's cheaper.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to keep up when your costs are going up every single year. You know, you have drastic increase to your costs every year. It's hard to keep up.
Do you have anything else from
off the top of my head?
What about the climate of expats in Guangzhou versus no expats in Shenzhen, Hong Kong? How does that feel?
I was much more connected with the expat community then. So my immediate network of...
I feel like there's less people in Guangzhou now than there was. Less people coming to Guangzhou.
Yeah, most definitely. And in our network, there's so many of us who left or are leaving. You know what I mean? I know over a dozen people just in the past 3 or 4 months that have moved to Vietnam, Chiang Mike, Bali, these type of digital nomad locations that are set up for people to work remotely. Yeah, you know, you get a lot more bang for your buck and a lot more amenities there than you would living here for sure. Yeah, I'm way more out of touch with the foreign population here than I was before. I was very entrenched in that network before, whereas now, yeah, I think it's different. I don't know if there's quite as many full-time entrepreneurs here as there was 5 years ago. You know, I feel like it's kind of a different crowd. You have more, you know, models or teachers or people taking like hardcore jobs, and I feel like the people who are doing our kind of work are more often passing through than living here on a full-time basis. But again, that could just be my network. I don't know if that's true across the board.
Drew, how's your battery life?
7 minutes. Yeah, it's already got 29 minutes, 17 seconds on the clock. We're already done.
I think what we'll do is we'll wrap Mike's section and then we'll stop, change the batteries, and then since you're talking about the experts, what was I going to say? I was going to say something off the bat. Yeah, I agree. I think that there's definitely less expats coming actively to China. There's definitely a lot of people that have been here for a while that teach English or doing some stuff that's similar to me, similar to us. I think there's people, like you said, passing through. I think that's a big thing. Like a lot of people find it like it's like a rite of passage if you're gonna source in China to like come be in Guangzhou for 3 months
Right.
or whatever. But there's a lot more people that are going to Shenzhen now.
Yeah.
There's a lot more people that are choosing to go live in Shanghai, and that's also indicative of, I think, the way manufacturing is working. Is like it's cheaper to make products in the middle of China or northern China than it is, not for everything, but it's becoming cheaper to do that stuff in northern China.
A lot of things are being pushed out.
Places like Nantong. But yeah, I just think that it's changing the climate. And then I also think, like you said, how there's clusters. I think stuff is becoming more specialized. So you have way more places where, like Guangdong used to make everything. I think now it's like, okay, Guangdong does this, and then this area Jiangsu does this, and Qingdao does this. And of course, they always had their specialized stuff that they were doing, but I think it's becoming even more specialized now. And then and it's partly because of the cost.
For sure.
And the labor cost.
One last thing I'll throw in that's changed a lot is a lot of established businesses, especially foreign-run established businesses that were here, the entire first 7 years that I spent in China are starting to move out and are starting to leave, get shut down.
Do you know anyone that's been shut down?
Coolies might have just been shut down, but that's a different conversation. We'll save that for another time. But I think a lot of people just decided to move on for whatever reason. Maybe they were getting squeezed too hard. Maybe they made their money and it's time to get out. Maybe they weren't making the money they thought they were going to make. But there were so many places that we used to go religiously. We were always, every Wednesday we'd go to this spot, or we'd always find time to meet friends at this location. They're not there anymore. It's new restaurants and new owners and new style, new locations in the city.
Macaulay's.
Yeah, Macaulay's, the Brew.
I mean, Macaulay's, I saw the writing on the wall 4 years ago. I never liked Macaulay's. I know you guys were.
Don't hold back, bro.
No. I must never feel that place. I never felt it. What's up?
It was whack.
It was what?
It was whack.
It was old school. I was like, that Macaulay's was the bar. You could clearly be like, this is the first bar that ever existed in China. This is the first foreign bar.
Not all of our viewers are in their 20s, man. Got some old heads like me that like an old school Irish pub, all right?
Yeah, there's better old school Irish pubs.
All right.
That was the demographic that was in there.
And yeah, when you walked in there,
Definitely all the crowd.
you walked in there was 40-plus-year-olds hanging out, just washed.
I'll be there pretty soon, so I can't hate too hard. But yeah, I'd say those aspects are the biggest changes that I've seen. I can't really say if it's for the better or the worse. It's just change,
In terms of me being in China, there hasn't obviously been that much change. I think the biggest thing is I have started to notice cost of living going up significantly. I think one advantage I do have is the apartment that I live in. I've been there for 3 years, so they haven't increased the rent on me by that much. They increased it by $20 or something per month.
Per month, per year.
Per month.
$20 per month?
Yeah, it was an increase of $20, maybe 30, I think it was. And he was like, cost of living is up.
Over the course of the year, that's fairly.
Yeah, but in comparison to what I've seen with other people, one of my friends' apartments, he was in a 3-bedroom.
They might take it up 20%.
Yeah, he was in a 3-bedroom, and over the course of 3 years, they went from paying $8,000 to $12,000.
25% markup. That's crazy.
They went from paying a little bit over $1,500 to $2,000 a month within the course of 2 years. Actually, it wasn't even 3 years. It was just so. And I've seen other places that have even doubled the cost of rent. So my situation is pretty good. But just in general, I've noticed that things are getting more expensive. Just even ordering food and stuff like that. Even from the cheapest restaurants. Even freaking McDonald's, man. McDonald's? Yeah, McDonald's has gone up. I used to order McDonald's breakfast sometimes. I think it's gone up by it used to be 1800. I think it's 26 now. It's gone by 700.
I don't think you should be eating McDonald's for breakfast, bro.
I used to order McDonald's breakfast sometimes. I said sometimes.
Just looking out.
I don't eat breakfast on a regular basis. I'm talking about sometimes when I know I'm not going to eat anything, I'm
Right.
traveling to a factory,
Sorry, I said throw that
and
out.
I get coffee for free with that situation. Mainly I order from. Anyways, but like yeah, so I just noticed like a lot of different things, and also the like wages with staff.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
every year, and then the government makes the announcements every year. Like I think last year they increased it by 15%,
More and more demands.
and I think next year it's supposed to increase again by 12 or something like that. You know, so it's like the minimum wage was something like 2,800 3 years ago. I think the minimum wage right now is 3,600.
It's not easy for a business in that environment. You know that your costs are going to drastically increase year to year. When does it stop? You know, how do you forecast it?
Well, I think it's harder for factories. I think it's
Most
I think
definitely,
factories
most
are the ones who suffer the most of this kind of stuff because, like with a business like ours, we can still grow, and we don't necessarily need to have more employees to do that. Like we can just systemize more and use more efficient ways to maximize the amount of time that we get out of each person.
Right.
Whereas with a factory, it's like it's very much labor intensive. The alternative is they want to systemize is they have to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into machinery.
Yeah.
Which is it's not the same as us where it's like I can create SOPs, I can get an application that does 20% of what another person does.
And back in the day when I first started, a factory worker would make a very low wage, so 1,800 RMB a month. I remember something like that, up to like 3,000 RMB a month maybe would be the tops. But they would pay for everything for those factory workers while they were
They're still paying
here.
for everything.
Right, but that's what I'm
paying
saying.
a higher wage.
Right, you got to pay a higher wage, and then that cost of living has also drastically increased.
By the way, the minimum
For the
wage,
factories.
the minimum wage is funny thing is the minimum wage with factory workers hasn't gone up that much. Like maybe it was 1,800. Now it's like 2,500.
I bet you.
2,800.
Yeah, let's say.
Actually, I was just talking to 2 weeks ago. I was with the factory boss in Guangzhou. I took him out for lunch. Actually, he's a very interesting guy. He makes high-end cigar whiskey and packaging. With a factory in Dongguan, he's got another factory that makes like grandfather clocks in Shanghai. And he said at one stage they were the #1 manufacturer for grandfather clocks in the world. Super successful guy. He used to study in Newcastle in England. Then he was a civil engineer. Came back to China after working in the UK for like 5-10 years. They started multiple factories. And he's got like a French restaurant. Like very smart guy, interesting character. So he was just telling me about that. He was talking about the minimum wage thing, and he was like, he said the same thing. It used to be 1,800, now it's like 2,800. However, even though that's the minimum wage, no one wants. You
Right,
can't
for
hire
sure.
somebody at the minimum.
That's minimum.
Like the minimum wage for our industry is 3,600 RMB. I don't pay anybody. I've never paid anybody
And
3,600.
I know that one thing that happened is a lot of these factory workers, even if the amount of money they were making in Dongguan, Shenzhen went up a little bit and was more than they were making before, they might be able to make a similar wage in their hometown now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so if you can make 3,000 a month in Shenzhen, but make 2,400 a month in your hometown,
And live at home and
right,
probably
be
not
around
pay
your
rent
kids,
and be
and
with your
you
children.
know,
And,
have more family close by, then it's a no-brainer. You know what I mean?
so it's becoming. I've also noticed in the last 4 years it's becoming more difficult for factories to retain their workers. They have to pay more money. The cost of manufacturing in China is going up.
There's one thing that always happens in China is factory workers usually have like a yearly contract, and then once Chinese New Year hits, everybody goes back home, and that was a huge problem with a lot of factories. They wouldn't know how many workers were actually going to come back. And
Now it's even less. Like it's becoming more difficult for them to retain their workers. So those are I think major things I said. Cost of living. So then what's happening is interesting because when I first came, it was like everything's so cheap. Now I'm beginning to look at surrounding places like the Philippines, like Thailand, and it's like, well, for the amount of money that I'm paying right now, like I could get a fucking rooftop, like I could get, what do you call it, like a rooftop condo or whatever, penthouse. Like I get like a penthouse.
see how our boy Nick Narav's living in Medellin.
To be fair, he's with like 5 dudes in that place. I don't think I could do it. It's a nice little penthouse over there, but I wouldn't be able to live with that many.
The point is, there's a lot of other places where you could live very, very well for the same amount of money that you spend in here.
So yeah, I mean, there's that transition. But I think as you were talking earlier, one thing I was thinking about is I think some of this stuff in terms of the government tightening up the things and the cost of living becoming higher, and then ultimately then foreigners leaving because of that stuff. I think some of it is on purpose. I think they want to squeeze out all of the people that were in China making, a couple thousand, $100,000 a month and getting by and just, scrapping. They want to get those people out of it. And I get that. At the same time, from the government, they want people
Kicking out the riffraff.
Essentially, yeah. Like they're trying to change the image of China. I don't think they want China to be viewed as this wild east place that people could just come and do whatever. I think they want to be viewed the same way that people view Western countries, which is like, it's developed, civilized. If you go there, you better be doing big things. That's why they're giving government grants to people that are in tech in China. I definitely agree. They're squeezing, they're tightening, but I think they're doing it on purpose and they want to change the image of the country. Now, is it all positive? Not necessarily, because it's kind of fucked up that some people just get kicked out, or companies like bullies is a specific situation and dog raid and whatever. But like what happened to my colleagues, it's like these are somewhat of institutions in the city, and I feel like the government maybe isn't recognizing the fact that some of those places are important and they provided a culture to the city. I don't think they value culture as much
At all.
from that.
At all, yeah. There's been that's a good point. When I was talking about what I've seen change, that was maybe one thing that I failed to mention is those weren't just places that I like to go. Those are places that had feeling, man. Like you walk in and they had.
I didn't like Macaulay's in terms of being there. I didn't like the food or whatever, but like I did. There was an affinity when I'm walking past the area and I see Macaulay's. I'm like, it's a symbol
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I go back to certain areas of Chicago and it's like, oh man, this place, it's the same vibe that was there 10 years ago. It's an institution. Like, you get treated a certain way when you go there. There's a certain type of quality that you expect when you walk through the door. And I just feel like a lot of those places that were here and had that are gone. And it wasn't necessarily their choice to leave, like you're saying. They were pushed out.
And the other thing, going back to the cultural thing, is like, okay, business is great. Like, obviously China's making a ton of money, but at the same time, it's like, there are people that used to come to China once or twice a year, and Macaulay's and the brew, although the owners are still the same, they just rebranded to, what's the name of it now? Benditos. It's a Mexican restaurant. It's really good, but like people, those are places where it's like they would come to China and they would do their business and they want to go to Macaulay's afterwards.
Yeah.
And they're spending money, and maybe sometimes they even stay an extra day just so that they can go and have a night out and be at these places. And that's why I say that they're not valuing culture as much, which I think is a negative that I'm not sure when they'll start to see or recognize that, but I think it's a big negative. So that's maybe one big thing. Even like you're talking about going out, being able to be out in China or whatever, it's not going to the spot after the spot after the spot. That's a dying thing. And for me, I don't go out that much anyways. I go like once a month or so, whatever. But at the same time, it was nice that was there, and that was a big thing for me when I first came to China, because obviously, last call Canada's 2 o'clock in the morning, 1:30. We were out by 2:30, 3 a.m. There was a lot of freedom being here and being like, I remember like my first couple of weeks here, I was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, oh, hey, we're done, guys? It's been a good night. They're like, no, man.
We're not
started. We haven't even gone to the nightclub yet.
We're just scraping the surface.
Yeah, I was like, I thought this was the nightclub. So, those are things that are changing, which is unfortunate. But I understand why it's happening. I don't necessarily agree with everything, but I understand why it's happening. I don't know if there's anything else for me in particular. Well, development. Like I think, actually, one interesting thing that I've noticed with the new generation of employees is, the people that I think any employee that's under the age of 23, any Chinese person that's under the age of 23, are way more independent, way more. They way more want to be fulfilled by their work, and they want to make their own decisions. They want to be, more autonomous from, the previous generation of employees, where the previous generation of employees was always like, tell me what to do. I need very clear instructions. I want to do this and do that. Whereas I've noticed like the younger generation is more like, I want to try and figure it out.
Right, and I feel like we find more people that are excited and interested to work with us and want to be a part of a startup and want to be a part of like an innovative business or concept, rather than the older generation, which was more like, I can get in with the Chinese state-owned company, PNG, that is the end-all be-all. The next 40 years are set.
It's funny because one of the projects that we're working on right now, going back to Nantong, we hired a guy in Nantong who used to work for the factory that we're dealing with, and he quit because he felt like he wasn't being fulfilled in his job at the factory, and he was in the factory working 7 days, 6 days a week. So he was like, I want to work for a foreign company, because if I work for a foreign, I can still do the same stuff. He's still interested in what he was doing. He just didn't want to be
more flexibility.
More flexibility, and he wanted to be a little bit more independent. Now that he's working for us, he's like able to have his input and suggest things, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. And sometimes I reject things or whatever, but he has way more control over what he does on a daily basis rather than before when he was working in the factory. And I was talking to the factory owner, and the factory owner was like, it's so weird these days because nobody wants to work in office. Everybody wants to be in the office. He's like, nobody wants to be on the factory floor. He had to renovate his office. He had to renovate his office, and he's having to renovate the factory floor because people were quitting because of working conditions, right?
Yeah.
So that's another big thing is just the younger generation of Chinese people were just not having it.
Right.
Not having it.
Not playing that shit. I need ping pong tables and flexible work schedule like Google, or else I'm out.
You're gonna have somebody doing my laundry. And where's the PlayStation 4? Where's the break? It's going to be interesting. I'm interested to see what's going to happen. Is every factory going to become like a Facebook headquarters? It's being hacky sack.
Yeah, I always say that, I've been saying for the past 5 years, I'm very interested to see what the landscape looks like here 10 years from now, and I still hold that. I'm still thinking about that, because like no other place I've been, things change very rapidly.
Very fast.
Like any other environment I've been in, the change comes quick, and I feel like the Chinese people in general adapt pretty well to a rapidly changing environment.
The thing is, like, what's happening in China is essentially they're going through an accelerated version of what's happened in the West. Where it's like, I always say, like, I felt that China was in 2025 technology and development wise in big cities, but culturally they were like in the 60s. Now it's like I feel like they jumped 10 years or 3 years.
For sure.
Like culturally, so I'm talking about this generation. This generation is now acting more like millennials, right? Like they're more like, I don't like working more than 40 hours a week. I don't want to do that. I want to have an iPhone, and I want to be able to, travel with my friends on the weekend. It's all that stuff. So the
amount of time to get to that mindset is not that long.
It's not that long. Yeah, it's literally like we have employees that are 25 years old and 23 years old, and there's a big difference between the way those guys think and the way the other ones think. It's almost more like when they started working, what was the climate versus when they're starting to work now, what's the climate?
Yeah.
And this is very different, and I find it fascinating. I think that anybody that's coming to China right now, I just expect it not to be as cheap as it was. It's still cheaper than if you're in a big city in the West. And I think it's easier actually a lot of times to live here now because more people speak English. It's becoming more westernized. Chinese people being more west. There's more Chinese people that are studying outside of China, coming back, starting businesses. That's also a very fascinating thing. It's like there's less expats moving here, but I find I meet more late 20s, early 30s people that are Chinese born and then go live and study abroad and then come back and start a company. And they're trying to bring innovation to whatever industry they're in, which is interesting. Even like when I go to northern China and some of these other countries, I meet guys who've like lived in the US for 6 years, came back, or maybe even grew up in the States and then decided to come back and decided to come here and start something. That's just like we're gonna see the changes of that like in the next 5
What's up? What's up? What's going on, bro? Good to see you. Good to see you.
What's going on? What's going on?
They used to be Chinese in China. Sourcing table. Bi-weekly in Chiang Mai. We're going to be plugging that in the last video that we did along with this. If you're interested in joining the online group, being part of the community, we'd love to have you. We're going to have day-to-day information being sent back and forth. We're going to have weekly live AMAs and just info sessions with either both me and Rico or just one of us. So yeah, get on that. And we look forward to talking with you guys more in the future.
And guys, we're gonna check out the day in the life, day 1, day 2 videos out as well. You're gonna reach out to us. That's podcast. That's sourcefinasia.com. sourcefinasia.com/made in China for the show notes. And we're signing off from the 70th floor, Park Hyatt, Rico ChinaMike. Cheers.
House of the Many-Faced God.
House of the Many-Faced God.
Peace.
Many-Faced God.
Peace.